जय ओम विष्णुपाद परमहंस परिव्राजकाचार्य अष्टोत्तर श्री श्रीमद् अभय चरणारविंद भक्ति वेदांत जगद्गुरु श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय। जय ओम विष्णुपाद परमहंस परिव्राजकाचार्य अष्टोत्तर श्री श्रीमद् भक्ति सिद्धांत सरस्वती गोस्वामी महाराज श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय। अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की जय। नामाचार्य श्रील हरिदास ठाकुर की जय। प्रेम से कहो श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद की जय। श्री श्री राधा कृष्ण गोप गोपीनाथ श्याम कुंड राधा कुंड गिरि गोवर्धन की जय। ग्रंथराज श्रीमद् भागवतम की जय। All glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to the assembled devotees. All glories, all glories, all glories to Shri Shri Guru and Shri Gauranga. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam namaskritya naram chaiva narottamam devim saraswatim vyasam tato jayamudiraye nashtaprayeshu abhadreshu नित्यं भागवत सेवया भगवत्युत्तम श्लोके भक्तिर्भवति नैष्ठिकी। कृष्णाय वासुदेवाय देवकी नंदनाय च नंद गोपकुमाराय गोविंदाय नमो नमः। Hare Krishna. So we're reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, 3rd canto, chapter number 1, questions by Vidura, text number 7. So text number 7 doesn't have a purport, so I'll read this myself. यदा सभायां कुरुदेव देव्याः केशाभिमर्शं सुतकर्म गर्ह्यं न वारयामास नृपः स्नुषायाः स्वाश्रैर्हरन्त्याः कुचकुङ्कुमानि. The translation by Abhay Charnaravinda Bhaktivedanta Jagadguru Srila Prabhupada ki jai. The king did not forbid his son Dushyasana's abominable action of grabbing the hair of Draupadi, the wife of the godly king Yudhishthira, even though her tears washed the red dust on her breast. Text number 8. Please repeat. Dyute tu adharmena jitasya sadhoho सत्यावलंबस्य वनम गतस्य न याचतो अदात समयेन दायं तमोजुषाणो यद अजातशत्रो द्यूते त्वधर्मेण जितस्य साधो सत्यावलंबस्य वनं गतस्य न याचतो दात् समयेन दायं तमोजुषाणो यदजातशत्रोः द्यूते त्वधर्मेण जितस्य साधो सत्यावलम्बस्य वनं गतस्य न याचतो दात्समये न दायम् तमोजुषाणो यदजात शत्रुः द्यूते त्वधर्मेण जितस्य साधो सत्यावलम्बस्य वनं गतस्य न याचतो दात्समये न दायम् तमोजुषाणो यदजात शत्रुः. Please repeat. सत्यावलम्बस्य वनं गतस्य न जातस्य समयेन दायम् द्यूते त्वधर्मेण जितस्य साधो सत्यावलम्बस्य वनं गतस्य न याचतो दात्समयेन दायम् तमोजुषाणो यदजात शत्रुः. न याचतो दात्समयेन दायम् तमोजुषाणो यदजात शत्रुः. न याचतो दात्समयेन दायम् तमोजुषाणो यदजात शत्रुः. द्यूते स्वधर्मेण विदस्य साधो सत्यावलम्बस्य वनं गतस्य न याचतो दात्समयेन दायम् तमोजुषाणो यदजात शत्रुः. द्यूते त्वधर्मेण जितस्य साधो सत्यावलम्बस्य वनं गतस्य तमोजुषाणो यदजात शत्रुः. माता जी. द्यूते त्वधर्मेण जितस्य साधो न याचतो दात्समयेन दायम् तमोजुषाणो यदजात शत्रुः. द्यूते त्वधर्मेण जितस्य साधो सत्यावलम्बस्य वनं गतस्य नाचतो दात्समयेन दायम् तमोजुषाणो यदजात शत्रुः. द्यूते त्वधर्मेण जितस्य साधो सत्यावलम्बस्य वनं गतस्य आचतो दात् समयेन दायम् द्यूते by means of gambling. Tu but adharmena by unfair tricks. Jitasya of the vanquished. Sadho a saintly person. Satya avalambasya one who embraced truth as shelter. Vanam forest. Gatasya of the goer. Na never. Yachataha when asked for. Adat delivered. Samayena in due course. Dayam right share. Tamajushana overwhelmed by illusion. Yad as much as. Ajat Shatro of one who had no enemy. The translation and purport by Abhay Charnaravind Bhaktivedanta Jagadguru Srila Prabhupada ki jai. The translation: Yudhishthir, who was born without any enemy, was unfairly defeated in gambling. But because he had taken the vow of truthfulness, he went off to the forest. When he came back in due course and begged the return of his rightful share of the kingdom, he was refused by Dhritarashtra, who was overwhelmed by illusion. The purport: Maharaj Yudhishthir was the rightful heir to his father's kingdom, but just to favor his own sons, headed by Duryodhana, Dhritarashtra, Maharaj Yudhishthira's uncle, adopted various unfair means to cheat his nephews of their rightful share of the kingdom. At last, the Pandavas demanded only 5 villages, one for each of the 5 brothers, but that was also refused by the usurpers. This incident led to the war of Kurukshetra. The battle of Kurukshetra, therefore, was induced by the Kurus, not the Pandavas. As Kshatriyas, the proper livelihood of the Pandavas was only to rule and not to accept any other occupation. A Brahmana, Kshatriya or Vaishya will not accept employment for his livelihood under any circumstances. Om Ajnanatimirandasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamiham Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Utapadakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitamscha Namaum Vishnupadaya Krishna Presthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shrivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. So here we see that Yudhishthir Maharaj has been described as Ajat Shatru. Ajat Shatru means the person. Jat comes from the word Janma, the birth, and means unborn. And Shatru means enemy. So the person whose enemy is not born. So from his side, he never sees anyone as an enemy. This is also one of the important qualities of a great Vaishnava. In third canto, Kapil Dev, he is describing what are the qualities of a true, real, great devotee of Lord Krishna. Titikshava karunika surudam sarvagehinam ajata shatrava shantascha sadhavaha sadhu bhushanam. What are the great ornaments of a sadhu? Whom can we call as a sadhu? So he says Titikshava is very tolerant. Karunika is very, very merciful. And Surudam Sarvagehinam, he is friendly to all living beings. Ajata Shatru, so there this word comes. Ajata Shatru means he is inimical to nobody. He is friendly to everyone. Here Yudhishthir Maharaj has been described as Ajata Shatru. It's a very famous name for Yudhishthir. So how can we see that there are so many enemies? He is surrounded by all the Kauravas. They are trying to conspire. There are so many people in this assembly who are very inimical to Yudhishthir. So the way it is described that Ajata Shatru means Yudhishthir does not see anyone as enemies. Even though there may be other people who are very envious, who are having a lot of grudge against Yudhishthir, even though he has no faults, he is pure. In this regard, Bhartruhari also wrote down that Muruga mean sajjananam trunajala santosha vihita vrittinam lubdaka dhivar pishunam nishkaranam eva vairino bhavati. So we see many times that there are so many saintly people. They are not at all harmful. They don't give trouble to anyone. But still, they are the ones who are troubled the most. How is it possible? So Bhartruhari here mentions Mruga meena sajjanana, means the deer. A deer is very much satisfied eating little grass. And the deer doesn't harm anyone, doesn't go hunting, doesn't do any nonsense, doesn't give any trouble to anyone. But still the hunter comes and grabs the deer, takes his life. The same way the fish, they are very peaceful. The fish, they are happy in the water. They don't do any harm to anyone, but still the fishermen come and grab them. And the same way Sajjanana means the saintly people, they are always satisfied, they are peaceful within themselves. They are happily chanting the glories of Krishna. They are happily situated in their own little world. But still the Durjan, the bad people, they always want to disturb them. So why does it happen? So he says, Nishkarana meva vairino bhavati. In this regard, Srila Prabhupada said that the moment we become surrendered to Krishna, the moment someone is trying to surrender to Krishna, we automatically become enemies of Maya. It's like we are waging the war against Maya. So Srila Prabhupada said that we must always remember that Krishna is even the master of Maya, the illusory energy. So in that sense, we are never alone. It's like we are zero, a living entity is a zero without Krishna, but Krishna is infinity. So if a living entity is surrendering to Krishna, who is infinity, then 0 plus infinity becomes infinity. So in that sense, a living entity can become powerful and can also overcome the illusory energy. Just like Krishna describes in Bhagavad Gita, that my external energy is very durable. Srila Prabhupada uses the word durable. It's very strong, very difficult to overcome. But Mam eva ye prapadyante maya metam taranti. Whoever is surrendered to Krishna, they will easily cross over this external energy of Krishna. So we see that many times the saintly people, they have to go through the problems. Just like the Pandavas, Ajatashatru Yudhishthir was unfairly defeated in gambling match. So here also we can see, just like Prahlad Maharaj, what was his fault? He was just like a 5-year-old, just like a baby. The moment he said that, oh, Lord Vishnu is the supreme, his own father became enemy. He had not done any harm to anyone. So the same way, we understand that Srila Prabhupada also described that the devotees of Krishna, even though they are surrendered to Krishna, they have to be alert. They have to be always on guard. Even though Krishna takes care of them, Srila Prabhupada mentioned that the devotees, they have to perform their duties in such a way that Krishna is pleased, and at the same time their life becomes protected by Krishna's loving protection. So in that sense we understand. So we see the life of Pandavas, they are constantly going through problems. Even there is a verse in Bhagavatam, Yatra Dharma Suto Raja, the son of Dharma personified is Yudhishthir. Gadapani Vrukodara, Krishnastu Gandivam Chapam, Surut Krishna Tato Vipat. That these 5 Pandavas are best friends with Krishna. One of them is son of Dharma. There is strong Bhima. There is very skilled Arjuna. But still they are constantly going through calamity after calamity. The important thing to understand is that these all Pandavas, they are still constantly surrendered to Krishna. They are not losing their faith in Krishna. That's a very important quality to get from Pandava's life. So when the gambling match was arranged, we see it was a trick of Duryodhana. Shakuni said that we cannot defeat them by fair means. So rather than fighting with them in the battlefield, Shakuni said we cannot match with them at this moment because these are very strong people. Even demigods are showering flowers on them. And they have even defeated Gandharvas. So there is no way that we can fight with them face to face. So rather we have to do a trick. So let's call them for gambling match. And then we will defeat them because I am master in that. Nobody can defeat me in the gambling match. And I know that Yudhishthir is not very expert because it's gambling. Gambling, devotees are not good in bad things because devotees try to stay away from there. So somehow they sent the invitation. So here is the wrongdoing of Dhritarashtra, that at first he was saying that we cannot send such an invitation to Pandavas because this is just unfair to try to get somebody's property, try to steal everything from someone by the means of dyuta, by the means of gambling. And Vidura was also telling them, he was giving the best advice that you should never ever do something like this. If you think you are Kshatriyas, you should give a proper invitation to fight. If you have that power, if you think you are very strong. But this means is not proper. But still, because Dhritarashtra was so much attached to Duryodhana, Duryodhana was constantly saying that, oh, you want us to die? Do you want to see our dead faces? Do you want to see that we are very badly beaten? If no, then you have to follow this. Somehow, because of the attachment to the son, because of the attachment to the foolish sons that he had, he somehow always followed what they did. Even though he had the intelligence, his intelligence was sometimes telling him that this is wrong, we should not do it. Even Vidura was constantly giving him proper advice, but somehow he would follow what the Duryodhana asked for. So this is the problem of material attachment. When we are attached to something that is material, and when the attachment becomes very thick, then the intelligence becomes clouded. Here, what happened next is somehow they sent the invitation, and as soon as the invitation went to Indraprastha, to the Pandavas, Vidura personally went to give this invitation, and he was very, very sad to bring that invitation. And Yudhishthira and the Pandavas understood that he is sad, his face tells that there is a big calamity that is waiting for us. But the Pandavas, they thought if that's the desire of the Lord, then let us just follow. So they came and they saw the big arena and the nice setup and everything that these people are very well prepared. That means it's going to be a very tough time. When Yudhishthira sat down and Duryodhana, they both sat down, Duryodhana said that on my behalf, Shakuni is going to play. So that was also a big question mark, that why someone else has to play on your behalf. Because Shakuni was an expert in that art of gambling. He had a special dices that he had made from the bones of his dead father. So the dices would listen to him, that he would actually, with a technique and some secret mantras, he would make the number come exactly whatever number he wanted, the dices would produce. So that's why he was very confident. Just let's let him sit here and I'll take everything. So as the match began, as we know the story, Yudhishthir is putting one thing after another. First he just thought it's just going to be a play. So he started putting some pearls, then a lot of gold, a lot of silver. Then he lost everything. He was losing one by one, everything. And then he put his chariot. Then he put 100,000 male servants who were very expert. He lost them. Then he put 100,000 female servants, maid servants. That also he lost. Then he put 60,000 soldiers. And everyone is seeing that he's constantly losing. So why not to just give up? That he could have said that, okay, it was nice meeting you and there was nice prasadam, thank you so much, and bye-bye, I'm going. He could have done that, but the problem here was that the Kshatriyas, the courts of the Kshatriyas were so stringent that a Kshatriya, if challenged, then he cannot go back. So that was the code that he was following. That, okay, if I leave now, that means I'll be called a coward. And Kshatriya cannot run away from a challenge. Someone challenges, then the Kshatriya has to come. That was the reason the first time they even accepted the challenge. So as we know, then he started losing everything. There came a time that he lost every single wealth that he had. Everything already gone. Then Vidura tried to tell him that, okay, so far, so good. Whatever happened. Let's consider this a play. Now Pandavas have nothing. Now let's go back to our homes. That's it, enough. But then, as Duryodhana always chastised and insulted Vidura, he also, again, this time he insulted Vidura, saying that you are just the son of a maidservant. And there are so many people like you who are living in our palace that we have to feed. They're living for free. You are freeloaders. And how do you think we are going to get the money, the wealth to sustain you guys? So he used really harsh words to Vidura, which constantly happened. That's why this chapter is actually questions by Vidura. In the beginning, it describes how Vidura is quitting his so-called material family life, and he's going in search of the spiritual, the real transcendental knowledge. So here, Vidura was constantly being chastised like this, with harsh words, with so much of insults. That time, Vidura says a very beautiful thing. He says that it's my duty to tell you what is the right path. And if you do not listen to me, then the hell is awaiting for you. Rather, right at this moment, you are very much fond of the sweet words of Shakuni, but they are going to take you towards hell. My words are very scorching at this moment, but they will take you to heavens. They will take you to a higher life, higher planetary system. Here in this regard, Srila Prabhupada also mentioned one time when Srila Prabhupada chastised one disciple very heavily, and the disciple dropped his shoulders. He was very morose, thinking that, oh, I displeased Srila Prabhupada. Later, in the evening time, Srila Prabhupada, the same person came to serve him in his room. That time Srila Prabhupada said that, I know that I have chastised you so heavily in the morning. I was harsh on you, so please forgive me. So he said, no, Srila Prabhupada, there is nothing like that. You are the spiritual master, and I was wrong. I did really bad. I'm really sorry. So Srila Prabhupada that time said a very important thing. He said, if your guru or your parents do not chastise you, that means you do not have a guru. So that's a very important thing, very heavy statement to understand. If your guru only tells you nice goody things, oh, you're doing very nice, or everything, even if you do wrong, if guru is saying that, oh, you're just perfect, you're amazing, he's only glorifying, then that means you do not have a guru in your life. You only have a cheerleader. So Srila Prabhupada, at many times, he would chastise his disciples, and he would correct them and make sure that they are not deviated. They are not moving from the right path. Here Vidura is also trying to tell the same thing to Duryodhana. And then later, because nobody listened to Vidura, no one listened to the right guide, the right spiritual master, then Yudhishthir kept on losing one thing after another, and then finally we see that he also put the Indraprastha, the kingdom of Indraprastha at stake. Then he put all the people's property on the Indraprastha, and then he lost everything. So finally he said, I have nothing left now. What can I put more? Then Shakuni was like, no, you still have yourself. You can put at stake your own self, because it's your body. So you put yourself at the stake. So he was okay. So he lost himself as well. Then he says that I lost entire kingdom, all my wealth. Even his brothers he put at the stake one by one. Nakula, Sahadeva, Arjuna, Bhima. He lost all of them. And then finally he put himself, and then he lost himself as well. So Yudhishthir is saying, now there is nothing left. Then here is the big question. Shakuni and Karna and Duryodhana, they started saying that you still have your wife. You should put Draupadi at stake. You can still bet on her. So that time there were many fingers. There were much of discussion going on. And so many people objected such activity. And that time, actually later on, so many acharyas also comment that if someone has lost himself and everything, then the game is over there. The game cannot be played later after that. So that was a wrong thing that Yudhishthira did. So finally he thought, okay, if that's what everyone thinks, if that's what the right thing, so he puts Draupadi also. So here we see in the text 7, Yada sabhayam kurudeva devyaha kesha bhimarsha sutta karma garhyam. When he lost Draupadi, then Karna, he is saying that now you lost everyone, all your brothers and even your wife and yourself. So you cannot be wearing nice royal garments that you are wearing. You have to change now. You have to wear these clothes of the maid servants. So he made everyone to wear those type of clothes. But here was Draupadi, who was not coming in the beginning in the assembly because all the male members were there. So Duryodhana, he sends Dushasan, and he says that if she is not coming, if she is giving you trouble, then Kesha Vimarsha Sutakarma Garmhyam. Like you bring her dragging by her hair. So the king did not forbid his son Dushasana's abominable action of grabbing the hair of Draupadi. So that was the biggest mistake you see in the assembly at that time, that all these big members who were sitting in the assembly, there was the king was Dhritarashtra, and then there is Dronacharya sitting there, there is Bhishma. So all these big names, even Vidura is sitting there, but they could not do anything against this wrongdoing. They could only watch and see. When Draupadi was dragged, she was looking very hopefully, she was looking towards Bhishma, that he will interject. He will do something and stop all this. But they all had their necks down. Their faces were sad and they couldn't do anything. Bhishma thought that because he had taken a vow that whatever happens, I will always be faithful to the throne of Hastinapur. So he thought, I can never take an action. So later on, when Krishna meets Bhishma, and that time he says that if someone is appointed as a guard for a building, then the guard cannot say that my duty only is protecting the door. The guard is supposed to sit at the gate and make sure only the right people come in. If the building is on the fire, if the entire building is burning and it's on the fire, the guard cannot just sit and say that, oh, my duty is only to check the door. No, the duty changes according to the situation, according to the circumstance. So Krishna's guidance, Krishna's way of telling Bhishma at that time, he says that your duty should change according to the circumstance. For the higher principle, we should be ready to give up the lower principles. Sometimes there comes a situation where you have to give up the lower principle in order to protect the higher principle. So, as we see later on, because of this bad karma, everyone was chastised by Krishna. Later on, we see that Draupadi was definitely protected by Krishna. When Dushasan was trying to pull her sari, he was trying to take it off. First, Draupadi was resisting. She was holding the sari by one hand and she was taking Krishna's name, oh Krishna, please protect me. Because she tried everyone else. She looked in everyone's eyes, she begged everyone, but nobody was ready to help her. So finally she started shouting Krishna's name in a helpless condition. She started, Hey Krishna, Hey Govinda, Hey Murari, Hey Madhusudan, Hey Bhaktavatsal, please help me. But still she was holding one hand. But later on it happened because Dushasan was so strong that she couldn't even hold on to the sari anymore. And that time, her second hand also slipped. So she was completely helpless. She was helpless to completely extreme extent that she just raised her both the arms up and she started calling out for Krishna. In a helpless condition, Hey Krishna, Hey Madhav, Hey Govinda, please help me. When she was in that helpless condition, then Krishna manifested in the unlimited sari. So in this regard, Srila Madhvacharya explains that actually the sari was not provided by Krishna. Rather, it was Krishna's name. more than Krishna, because Draupadi was calling out Krishna, she was chanting Krishna's names in the helpless condition that the name Harinam Prabhu, the Harinam manifested and provided the unlimited sari. So here Dushasan is still trying to pull the sari with all his power, but then if he pulls 1 meter, 5 meter would appear. So he's thinking that who wears so much of sari? He's thinking I'm pulling, but it's more and more coming. Because no one else could see the miracle of Krishna. Only the devotees of Lord in the assembly, they could see that actually Krishna is providing the sari. But other people were thinking that maybe she is just wears so much sari. So he was fatigued. And finally he could not do anything. But later we know how these Kauravas, they were adamant, and then they again told that if like Bhima took first a lot of vows that I'm going to take off your arms by which you tried to pull the sari of Draupadi. I'm going to break your chest. And later also he vowed that I'm going to kill Duryodhana and I'm going to cut off his thighs. So when these people started hearing these vows, then they understood. They started coming back to the senses. Even Dhritarashtra, when he started hearing, because he knows the power of Bhima. So when he heard that Bhima is taking such vows, that means there is going to be a very difficult times coming up. But then Duryodhan and all the party, they thought that right now they are just the slaves. So what are they going to do? Finally, when Draupadi was also about to curse everyone, then Dhritarashtra finally, he intervened, saying that enough is enough. We cannot let this go on. So they decided that only the Pandavas will go for 12 years of exile, followed by 1 year of incognito. And if they were detected in incognito, then they have to again repeat the cycle. Again 12 more years, 1 year incognito, and it repeats. So they thought we will put them forever in the exile. So such was the crooked plans this Kaurava had. In Bhagavatam, it is mentioned that because of that wrongdoing, they inculcated so much of bad karma that all their previous piety, all the previous pious activities, they started dwindling. And because they offended the Vaishnavas, the Pandavas and Draupadi, because of that, their deaths were written on that day when they humiliated Draupadi. So in the same way, we'll see in the future how the Mahabharata war happens later on. And by Krishna's mercy, Krishna's being next to the Pandavas with his guidance, the Pandavas ultimately gain back the kingdom. So we'll stop here. Anybody has any question, comments, please let me know. First you say and then you say then Madhav.
I was just noticing you were mentioning a point about how if the guru is only giving you, complimenting you, then you don't have a guru, and sometimes the good advice is not palatable, like it's very burning, you said. So it's very interesting, like some of the instructions in our books, they're very like maybe unpalatable in the beginning, like chant 16 rounds and read scripture, but the result of following them is you become happy. And if you switch on the radio, then it's just a bunch of advice about telling people good things about their bad habits. You know, be promiscuous, do drugs. If you don't like somebody, you should shoot them. And you know, there's no improvement there. People like to hear that. but they just like to hear good things about their bad habits, you know? So it's just an interesting. And the fact is that, you know, following that path in my own experience, you know, growing up and making mistakes, you know, eating junk food and playing video games, I used to think that was happiness. But instead, by, you know, chanting Hare Krishna, doing Sankirtan, um, eating Krishna Prasadam, then now seeing a difference, then to compare with, then I see actually this is much better. But if people don't have the alternative, they don't experience the alternative, then they just think that that's happiness. And like I used to think video games, that was that's the best kind of enjoyment. But now that engaged in Krishna's service and, you know, hearing Srila Prabhupada, hearing the philosophy, you know, his lectures and, you know, recordings of his books, reading his books and associating with devotees, you get a higher taste. So anyway, just some reflections. Thank you. Hare
Yeah,
Krishna.
thank you. Just reflection.
Prabhu, you have a comment or point?
Thank you. In regard to the stripping down of Draupadi, or the attempt to strip her down, she raised a question in the assembly that if Yudhishthir, he wagered me, he put me out, and that if Duryodhana won the gambling pot, then she would become Duryodhana's. This is the point. But then she said, was Yudhishthir, did Duryodhana win him? Was he obtained when he offered me? So the answer was yes. He no longer had any personal identity. He was now belonged to Duryodhana. So therefore, what basis, what right did he have to offer Draupadi if he no longer had any ownership? He was like a non-entity. So a non-entity cannot make an offer because he belongs to somebody else. So this was a very, very piercing type of argument that she raised. I don't remember, in fact, nobody could actually defeat that particular argument, that she could never belong to Duryodhana because because Yudhishthira had no right to offer her. So that was the point. And then Vidura came in, and a few of the others came in and said, yes, you can take her. You can, because she didn't belong to Yudhishthira anyway. As a result of Yudhishthira belonging to Duryodhana, then how could Yudhishthira offer anything? He was like a poor man without any money offering, saying, well, he had nothing in his pockets. And he says, you see that building, the Empire State Building? Okay, I offer it to you.
Yeah.
What are you giving for it? Well, I don't have to give anything. Well, you're talking like a madman. And that's basically what the argument of Draupadi was, that they had no right to take her. But they tried anyway.
Yeah, thank you, Prabhu. There were so many interesting things that you were mentioning to consider. One was in the beginning of your talk when you were saying at the beginning, you know, the deer is there and the hunter comes, no fault at all. The fish is swimming and the fisherman comes and takes him away. So similarly, a saintly person might be there and he has no enemies, but something is going to happen. But we also know that in the Bhagavad Gita says that Suhridan Sarva Bhutana and Hridaya Arjuna Tishtati. Krishna is in the heart of every living being and he knows what's happening. In another part of the Bhagavad Gita, it says Upadrastra Numantascha Bharta Bhokta Maheshwaram, that he's the overseer and the permitter of certain things to happen. So it appears that even those living entities, that they are not doing anything, that is meant to happen because something in the past. In the case of a saintly person might be different because he's guided directly by Krishna. That's one thing that I was seeing. The second part was that so many dharmas, and dharmas are overlapping, apparently overlapping. Kshatriya dharma, Brahman, Brahman dharma, women's dharma, and so, and then we know that these things could have been avoided if persons understand what is the highest dharma. Like we know that Dharmantu Shaksha Bhagavan Pranitam, that Krishna has the ultimate word. Just like when you were saying that Krishna came and talked to Bhishma, like what would you do that? So then the point is that ultimately we can see that the highest dharma could be, all this could have been avoided if person understood the highest dharma of all. It appears that all those dharmas have their value at that particular moment, but they're forgetting the highest dharma. Can you comment on that? Because even Draupadi at one time at the end of the battle of Kurukshetra, when Yudhishthira went to talk to, when Krishna induced Yudhishthira to go and get instructions, apparently it is said, I don't remember perfectly, that he was going to speak Dharma, Bhishma did, and then Draupadi kind of laughed a bit. Oh, you're going to speak about Dharma? When you didn't do anything. And then Bhishma said, well, this happened because of, my blood was contaminated. I wonder if you could say something in regards to this.
No, you said it rightly that in this world we see that the saintly people are harassed by the demoniac people. Just like, recently the temple in Bangladesh was attacked. So it appears that the saintly people are, the demonic people feel the saintly people are easy targets because they are very non-violent and, they're very unharmful. So it's easy to take advantage of them. That happens many times in the society. Just like even these Kauravas thought that we are 100 Kauravas and these are only 5. So the demonic people think like that and they try to take advantage. But the saintly people are like lions. Can 100 dogs come together and defeat 5 lions? So the Pandavas are compared to the lions. So 5 lions and 100 dogs, the 100 dogs cannot stand, they don't have a chance. So the same way, sometimes it appears that adharma is winning. The demonic people, we think, oh, how come they are advancing so much? So sometimes it appears that the adharma is flourishing and dharma is not so much flourishing. But it just happens because in this material world, different modes come up, they become dominant, and then again the sadhus and they also get their chance. Just like in Lord Ramachandra's time, when Vishwamitra was taking Ram and Lakshman, that time they saw the heap of bones, a big heap, and then Lord Rama, he inquires of whose bones are these. So they found out that actually these were all the brahmanas who were performing yagyas. They were performing yagyas, but the demons would come and capture them, eat them, and throw the bones. So then Ramachandra was like, he twanged his bow. He said, okay, I'm going to kill all these demons. I'm going to paritranaya sadhunam vinashaya cha dushkritam. So Krishna intervenes. So that is the most important thing we have to understand. If we follow the path of Krishna, if we follow the right path that is given by Krishna, dharmam tu sakshat bhagavat pranitam, like you were saying, then we will always be victorious. But what happens is sometimes we are not following as a community or as on a large scale. So because of that, the demoniac class, the adharma also flourishes sometimes. So in this regard, Vidura's instruction is, he says, when he was trying to stop the big guys, the big people from Kauravas, like Bhishma and Dhritarashtra, they were not taking any action at the time Draupadi was being disrobed. He says that the society does not collapse because of the wrongdoing of wrong men. The actually society starts to collapse when the good people stop to intervene. So that's why he was pleading them that take some action. So that's also something very important to contemplate upon. You want to say? Give it to Acharya now. We'll stop after this.
Sarvadharmam parijaja mamikam saranamraya.
Hare Krishna. Shamukunda
Krishna.
Prabhu, thank you very much for such a wonderful class. So you just mentioned that Lord Krishna made the point to Bhishma and maybe a few others that they should intervene, right? Why they did allow that to happen. But at the same time, we hear that it was a plan of the Lord that things has to happen. So how to understand that supposedly contradiction? This is one question. I think another question is, like, you have Yudhishthir and all these great devotees, that are watching Yudhishthir Maharaj playing on gambling, and Yudhishthir goes, okay, I give him gold, my kingdom, and he's going one after another. So if I am Yudhishthir's friend, if I am there, you gotta stop, right? Come on, you gotta stop, Yudhishthir. And then he's going one more. So I don't know. Maybe you can.
Okay, so in the Kshatriya line, Dyuta, the gambling board is considered like a battlefield. But it's lower class people's mentality. It's not the right thing, because Krishna corrected that understanding later. I'll tell you the understanding. They think that the board is like a battlefield. Your hands are like a bow, and the dices are like arrows, and that's how you fight. This is like lower class people. That's how they think, and that's how they invited, and they thought, oh, this is a non-violent way of gaining back everything. That was Duryodhana's argument to Dhritarashtra. He said, do you want us to fight with them? Either they will dead or we will be dead. So then they thought this is a non-violent way of snatching everything from them. That was one point. Second thing, later on Krishna chastises Yudhishthir, because the only thing that Pandavas did independently is this gambling match. In all other situations, we see whenever Yudhishthir has any doubt, he would always write to Krishna. He would always consult with Krishna. But only this one time, they did not consult with Krishna. They went and they were trapped. So this is also the second thing, that we should not be independent. We should always consult with the seniors. We should always consult with the spiritual master. And we should always take the guidance and then perform the action. And there was the third thing I wanted to tell you, that Krishna, then he corrects the understanding. When Krishna meets the Pandavas in the Kamyak one, in the exile, Krishna and Satyabhama visit them. That time Krishna says, how foolish of you, Yudhishthir. How could you even accept that invitation? Because the code of Kshatriya is, if someone challenges you, you have to accept, otherwise you are a coward. You are not a Kshatriya. If someone says, fight with me, so you have to be ready right now. You can't say that, okay, give me 1 year. You can't say, like the same way with the gambling also. If someone challenges, you have to accept. But then Krishna chastises Yudhishthir, and he says that there are 5 things which can be avoided, which someone can deny 5 things at any moment. And one of that, he says, gambling, because it destroys everything. On the moral grounds, you could have said no. So in that fashion also, if Yudhishthira would have consulted Krishna, then it could have been a different story. But your first question is how to understand what is God's plan and how to understand whether it's my doing. So in that regard, Srila Prabhupada's one very important instruction that he wrote to one of his disciples, Srila Prabhupada says that you do your duties perfectly. You do everything that has been given to you by your spiritual master. When someone performs his material duties perfectly, when someone performs his spiritual duties perfectly, and then still something wrong happens, then you just have to accept as Krishna's plan. But I cannot say that, okay, today I woke up late, I came late to Bhagavatam class, and it was all Krishna's plan. I cannot say that. Then it's I have to take it upon me. And I have to, beg forgiveness, and I have to be better. So Srila Prabhupada ki jai.